the moment I'm working on a new project called Territories in Transgression. One of the things that provoked the thinking about this project is 2 years ago, a programmer asked me, having seen one of my pieces, actually the piece Shift Center, she sort of asked me what was so African about my work. And at the time at first I was angry, I was annoyed by that, I was irritated by that. It seemed such a strange way to look at people's work. And it was also in a way that one doesn't pose that kind of question when to an American artist or a European artist, almost as if the Occident, the West, is the center and the rest is periphery. And if you're coming from Asia, we have to see your work in terms of that's Asian work, that's Japanese work, that's Chinese work. But if you're coming from the West, generally, it's just that's considered to be contemporary work in general. And maybe after one might think, that's a French artist. Again, it was a question which has come up a lot, many times in the circles of contemporary African dance. I mean, it was revealing something that maybe we can eventually, probably we will never get rid of. That at the same time, I felt that it was maybe a question that needed an artistic response. For Boda Boda, how is it that one could make evident the body inhabits different experience and different territory, and that in time the body evolves and resolves questions of how is it that it's living the different experiences that we do. With the way that my body is in time is continuing to resolve this question of where is my work coming from, this authenticity. And I felt that is something which is fairly evident. Anybody that says me in space would read that immediately. So that is the way that I began to work with this process, and that the strategy here needed to be one I needed to communicate through concrete contextual references. And the first thing that I began to work with was music that was Kenyan, but which was at the same time, was that Kenyan music, was that Congolese music. Just music, I think, was something that documents time and social change in an incredible way, and in a popular way as well. I felt that I needed to bring in visual material as well as sound material that would paint the complexity of this picture, well, in a solo, in a very short time. At that point, I sort of called in a music composer, and he works with improvisation. We worked together to try to create this soundscape of cultural transgression. I felt that I also needed to use video material, archive material, and I worked with a scenographer as a solution to sort of a kind of visual world. For this project, I find myself with the process that's using improvisation process, but at the same time writing. So sort of working in a neither. I was sort of, I think of it as really just a really pragmatic approach about what is it that I want to say, and then what strategies do I use. So for me, again, it's sort of a change. It's a shift in after a certain number of years dedicating myself to improvisation process. For me, also improvisation is always a way of accessing something in me that I always feel, a certain reality, a certain truth in my body, in the improvisatory process, in the spontaneity. There's things that come out, way that I could not do in any other way. You're in a certain state of body connectedness of the body and the mind in a way that produces something that just I couldn't do in other way. For Boda Boda Express, I was in between that way of working, but also wanting to put in symbols that I deliberately construct beforehand. So this was again a different way for me of beginning to work on Boda Boda project, just to show this complexity express this complexity of identity and of authenticities. We live multiple time, we have multiple identity, and that's under construction, changing all the time, evolving all the time. That the body is like a territory that transgresses different territory and is at the time inhabited by different territory, cultural, geographic, religious. All these different things are things that the body is at the same time, almost the body is recipient and actor in this process of transgression. It's as if we're crossing these frontiers all the time in reality, and we're crossing them without any difficulty. And what does that crossing in terms of what is African about it? What is the nature of authenticity or authenticities today is a thing which is in movement all the time. Maybe that is what we need to celebrate and we need to make evident.